Hello and welcome to another short video and perspective from INMAA Advisory, where we work on advancing the practice of complex project governance. Governance of complex projects is the system of decision rights, accountability and adaptation that keeps a large-scale initiative aligned with its objectives as conditions change. Today, I'll cover what that involves in practice, the fundamentals it rests on, the components of a working framework, how to implement it, and how governance maturity is built over time. Let's start with what governance actually is here. It's the system of decision rights, accountability, and adaptation that keeps a large-scale initiative aligned with its objectives as conditions change. Complex project governance is not merely a set of rules or procedures, it's a dynamic system. It integrates multiple stakeholders, diverse objectives, and evolving risks into a coherent structure. And that structure has to hold two things at once. It must be robust enough to provide clear direction and accountability, yet flexible enough to adapt to unforeseen challenges. Complex project governance differs fundamentally from traditional project governance. The difference comes from scale, scope, and stakeholder diversity. Traditional governance assumes a stable scope and a defined set of risks. Complex project governance operates somewhere else. It spans multiple organizations, jurisdictions, and technical domains. Those conditions produce interdependencies and paradoxes that standard frameworks don't fully anticipate. So it applies the same governance fundamentals, but it prioritizes adaptive capacity and continuous sense-making alongside control. Two requirements sit at the center of this, and they have to work together. The first is clear roles and responsibilities. That clarity prevents the ambiguity and conflict that are common in multi-stakeholder environments. Take a large infrastructure project with government agencies, private contractors, and community groups involved. Governance has to delineate decision rights and accountability pathways explicitly. Each party needs to understand their contribution and the consequences of their actions. The second requirement is adaptive mechanisms. Projects of this nature are susceptible to changes in political, economic, and environmental conditions, so governance structures need processes for continuous monitoring, feedback, and adjustment. That adaptive capacity is what lets the project respond proactively rather than after the fact. A working framework rests on 6 components. Strategic alignment. Project objectives stay aligned with the broader organizational or government strategy, which is what makes prioritization and resource allocation coherent. Stakeholder engagement and communication. Structured channels that foster transparency, build trust, and mitigate conflict among diverse parties. Risk management and compliance. Complex projects face regulatory, financial, and operational risk, so rigorous assessment and mitigation are embedded alongside compliance monitoring, decision-making authority, and accountability. Governance defines who makes decisions, at what level, and how accountability is enforced, which is what prevents delays and disputes. Performance monitoring and reporting, continuous evaluation against defined metrics so interventions happen in time, and resource management. Efficient allocation of people, technology, and finances. Integrated effectively, these 6 create a governance ecosystem that carries a project from initiation to closure. Implementing governance in a complex project takes a strategic approach. 6 strategies have proven effective. First, form a governance board with diverse expertise. Representatives from all key stakeholder groups, including technical experts, legal advisors, and community representatives. That diversity is what makes the oversight comprehensive. Second, develop a governance charter, a formal document articulating principles, roles, responsibilities, and processes, which becomes the reference point and the commitment among stakeholders. Third, use integrated project management tools, real-time data sharing, risk tracking, and communication. Fourth, implement stage gate reviews, formal review points at critical stages, so corrective action happens before issues escalate. Fifth, foster a culture of accountability and continuous improvement. Regular training and feedback loops contribute directly to governance maturity. And sixth, engage external advisory services where specialist insight and benchmarking add value. Even with all of that in place, governance meets real challenges. 5 are worth anticipating. fragmented stakeholder interests. Diverse stakeholders often hold conflicting priorities, so governance needs mechanisms for negotiation and consensus building. Information overload and miscommunication. The sheer volume and complexity of information can overwhelm governance processes, which is why clear protocols and data management matter. Resistance to change. Adaptive governance requires flexibility, and entrenched organizational cultures often push back. Uncertain and dynamic environments. Political shifts or economic downturns disrupt governance plans, so scenario planning and contingency frameworks build resilience. And resource constraints. Where resources are limited, prioritize the critical governance functions and use technology to extend what you have. Elevating success is not a one-time effort. It's a continuous journey towards governance maturity. That means investing in 5 capabilities. Regular governance audits, evaluating processes systematically to find the gaps, benchmarking against industry standards and peer organizations to adopt what's already proven, leadership development. So project leaders have the governance knowledge to champion good practice, technology integration, bringing artificial intelligence and data analytics into decision-making and risk management, and knowledge sharing through communities of practice that exchange lessons learned. Through these, governance stops being a compliance function. It becomes a strategic enabler. This is where our approach adds a further layer. Best practice risk management stays central. A risk is an uncertain event to prevent or mitigate. You name it, own it, treat it, record it. Alongside that, we treat tensions differently. Attention is a persistent paradoxical force. Control versus flexibility. Speed versus assurance. These cannot be eliminated, and they carry diagnostic information about a project's shifting complexity. So rather than collapsing tensions into the risk register, we read them as signals for adaptation. The two work together, not in opposition. To close, the governance of complex projects demands a sophisticated balance. Structure, adaptability, and stakeholder engagement held together. Organizations that build comprehensive frameworks and keep advancing their governance maturity can navigate the uncertainties that come with large-scale initiatives. That approach mitigates risk. It also unlocks the potential for transformative outcomes. You can find more of our work at our website. Thanks for your time.